In the early 1800s, the Bell family built a life in Adams, Tennessee. They lived in these cramped, drafty log cabins, surrounded by miles of wilderness that enforced a deep, quiet isolation. That quiet eventually broke. At first, it was small anomalies, the sound of footsteps on floorboards with no one there, and faint whispers drifting through the dark corners of the house. These noises soon escalated into physical violence. The youngest boy, John Jr., began waking up screaming, claiming an invisible, cold hand was smothering his face. Over the following months, the entity began biting, scratching, and beating the children. The family began calling the entity the Bell Witch. It spoke in a hoarse, raspy voice, mocking the family's religious faith and accurately predicting future events, including their deaths. The transition from disembodied sounds to targeted, intelligent violence transformed the farm from a quiet homestead into a site of relentless and inexplicable hostility. The terror couldn't stay contained to the farm. Neighbors, hunters, and preachers came to investigate, often sleeping in the house to witness the phenomenon themselves. Many reported that the entity answered them by name. The most famous visitor was reportedly future President Andrew Jackson. Legend says that as his entourage approached the Bell property, his wagon wheels suddenly locked in place and his horses panicked without an obvious cause. Jackson allegedly heard the entity mock him directly, stating, "Old Hickory, you're not wanted here." When an entity attacks children and defies a future head of state in front of witnesses, the story moves past simple folklore. We have to treat this as a forensic cold case. We begin the investigation by looking at the most terrifying claim, the physical nighttime assaults. The explanation for these attacks likely lies in the biology of fear. This diagram shows the mechanics of sleep paralysis. Normally, during REM sleep, the brain chemically locks the muscles to prevent the body from acting out dreams. In sleep paralysis, the brain wakes up while the body remains in this state of rhamatonia. This mismatch creates specific symptoms: total immobility, heavy pressure on the chest, and vivid hallucinations of dark figures. These medical symptoms map directly on John Jr.'s claims of being pinned down and smothered in his bed. The violent ghost reported by the children appears to be a documented biological sleep disorder. While sleep paralysis explains the bedroom assaults, it doesn't account for the daytime events, the slamming doors, thrown rocks, and whispers. These point toward a second hypothesis, a crafted human hoax. Simple parlor tricks, such as throwing objects from behind a wall or whispering down through the floorboards, can build a reputation that quickly takes on a life of its own. This leads to the ultimate question: why did independent, credible witnesses claim to hear the witch speak? The answer lies in mass hysteria. This flowchart illustrates how isolation and religious superstition prime the human brain to misinterpret neutral data. In a high-stress environment, a creaking floorboard or the wind in the chimney is filtered through fear and recognized as a distinct, threatening voice. The Bell farm became a psychological echo chamber. Shared expectation acted like a contagion, transforming the ordinary sounds of the Tennessee frontier into a collective supernatural experience. The immediate haunting reportedly ended after John Bell's death in 1820, but the story didn't fade. It mutated and spread across the country. The specific traits described in the Bell accounts, the mocking voice and the predictive mimicry, introduced the idea of a spirit that actively interacts with and taunts the living, rather than just repeating a past event. The forensic evidence suggests the Bell Witch was a perfect storm of untreated sleep disorders, deliberate human deception, and virulent mass hysteria. The legacy of the Bell Witch reveals the human brain's capacity to function as a reality-making machine, projecting monsters out of shadow and suggestion. Now we want your verdict. Drop a 1 in the comments if you believe supernatural forces were involved, or a 2 if you think this was entirely a psychological illusion. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit the like button and subscribe.